It was sick in a bad way because of the things that happened, but it was sick in a good way because it was cool. Crazy to call something so bloody, violent, and gory fun, but what can I say? I am disturbed. Hi everyone, I'm Hayley. Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be telling you about bingeable reads that I love and that are just super fun. Honestly, some of them might not even have the best writing, but a lot of them just really help me get out of my reading slump. They're addictive, they're fast to read, they're fun to read, and sometimes you just need a quick, fun read. So that's what I'm here for in this video today. I have something for everyone. A few young adult books in here. I have some contemporary. I will say I have mostly romance. I do have some sci-fi and I do have some thrillers. I also have horror. So there should be a little something for everyone. If you're in a reading slump, then this video is for you, and hopefully I can rec you some great books that will help you get out of your reading slump and that will help you fall in love with reading again. First off, I'm gonna start with my young adult books. So the first book I have is The Abyss Surrounds Us by Emily Skrutsky. This book is great. It's this sci-fi dystopian enemies to lovers book. I know, you enemies to lovers stans are already going crazy. I'm here to provide for y'all. Even though I don't even care about enemies to lovers, this book was great. Because first of all, you know I love pirates, and this book has pirates and seafaring. Seafaring sapphics, like already an amazing combination. For everyone, mostly for me, but for everyone. Here's the thing, I don't even like sci-fi. I don't even like sci-fi, but this book, I enjoyed it. So that's how you know this book is really good. This book is about this girl who is a trainer of sea monsters. She trains sea monsters. That's what a trainer of sea monsters is. Duh, sorry. I don't have a script for these videos, so things just come out of my mouth and we just roll with it. But anyway, this girl trains sea monsters, and what these sea monsters do, because basically they're in like this dystopian world. It's like the future. I think the world like flooded, so a bunch of people live on ships now. They have these sea monsters that they train to protect and defend their ships. But one day they get attacked by pirates. The main character, Cassandra, she gets abducted by these pirates and she's forced onto their ship, and she is forced to train their baby sea monster so that the pirate or ship captain can like use that sea monster to take over the seas. And it's great because, you know, like I said, it's enemies to lovers. So there's like a crew member on this ship that Cassandra has a lot of tension with. Things get really crazy. They start to wonder which side they really should be fighting for. So it's really interesting. It's a fun book, and it's also a really short read. I think it's only like 300 pages, if even. It might be even shorter. It's a duology. I believe there's a sequel. Sapphic, seafaring, enemies to lovers. If any of those things call to you, this book is for you. It's for everyone, because who doesn't love sapphics? I feel like just sapphics make everything better. And that brings me to my next recommendation. Well, two. Okay, so She Drives Me Crazy and Her Name in the Sky by Kelly Quinlan. I realized that Kelly Quinlan is like the queen of sapphic young adult contemporaries. I've only read 2 of her books, but they were both fire. I don't know how she does it, but she's amazing. I love her books and I will be reading all of them. She Drives Me Crazy and Her Name in the Sky are like complete opposites in terms of their tone. Can you hear my dogs barking? Like, here's the thing. I don't know what to tell you. They always want to bark when I film. It's them. Okay, so they're both young adult contemporary romances, and they both are like kind of coming of age stories, and they deal with like coming out and figuring out your sexuality. She Drives Me Crazy is a rom-com. Like, it's specifically meant to be fun. It's funny and it has like great witty banter, but then Her Name in the Sky is like way more serious. It's like kind of scary, and it's not scary, it's not a horror book obviously, but it's like very serious in terms of like what it deals with. It has like a little bit of substance abuse and homophobia, religious trauma. It's really serious and it gets really sad, but I love them both. She Drives Me Crazy, like I said, is a rom-com. It follows these 2 girls who are forced to carpool after they get into a car accident, and their cars are in the shop, so they have to carpool together, but they're enemies because one of them is a cheerleader who has basically bullied this other girl who is on the basketball team, and so they have to work together to carpool. But then one of them, the basketball player, decides that she wants to start fake dating this cheerleader to get back at her ex and make her jealous. It was really cute. Honestly, it was really funny. There were several moments where it actually made me laugh out loud, which is rare. Like, I normally don't do that. I normally just do a little or like but not like an actual laugh. Like this book made me laugh. It was great. It was so entertaining. And I love how even though obviously it is like a romance, like there is a lot of emphasis and focus on the two girls getting to know each other and growing closer together. It also is very much so about finding yourself and growing as an individual outside of your relationship and how to like build yourself back up after a really bad breakup, which I really love. And it also talks about coming out and dealing with pressure from your peers and your family. And I just thought it was so good. Like it had really, really important, serious moments, but then it also was really fun when it needed to be. Amazing. I love it. And then Her Name in the Sky, like I said, this one is a bit sadder. It is best friends to lovers. It is a romance, technically. It really was more about individual growth, just relationships in general, like with your family and with your best friend, and yes, romantically, but also figuring out how you want to grow as a person and how you can grow without certain people in your life or with certain people in your life. So basically it's about this girl named Hannah, and she is living in a very conservative environment. She's in a conservative town in a super conservative school that's like really, really religion based. Trigger warning for homophobia in this book. It gets really intense, but that's why I say that this book is very much so about like individual growth as well as relationship development, because a lot of the book has to deal with Hannah kind of internalizing homophobia from people around her, like her environment, her school, her family, some of her friends, and her trying to figure out where she stands in terms of her sexuality and what she really believes in for herself and how she wants to live her life. It's just like a really fulfilling book. Yes, there are a lot of hard parts to read, but by the time you get to the end, it's so worth it. Like just the journey you go through with Hannah and the other characters is just so fulfilling. Honestly, it's one of my new favorite books. I just finished it a few days ago and I can't recommend it enough. I am in love with this book. Friendship is beautiful. The chemistry between the characters is amazing and so genuine. And it's devastatingly realistic because yes, it did break my heart, but it felt really real. I really just appreciate that in a book. The next books I have to recommend, all of the Elizabeth Acevedo books that I have read. I've read With the Fire on High, The Poet X, and Clap When You Land. They're just such great, heartwarming books. Like they all deal with different topics, but I love how they all kind of encompass dealing with family issues as well as like coming of age and growing up and growing into your own identity. Clap When You Land has a sapphic main character. I believe she's bisexual. There are two point of views because basically what the book is about these two girls who discover that they're sisters when they find out that their father has passed away on a plane accident. So they have to come together to kind of learn about each other's lives and learn about each other's relationship with their dad and navigate the grieving process together. So this book really deals with grief and heartbreak and healing in a really fantastic way. Elizabeth Acevedo packs such an emotional punch in her book. So like this one is definitely the more emotional one. Her other book that I loved was The Poet X. This one is about a girl who is really into poetry, but I think this one gets the least plot driven because it really is just about a girl who's growing up, going through puberty, going into her body. It just deals with such real and relatable issues and conflicts that I feel like a lot of young adults struggle with. And so I really like that aspect of it. It was super emotional and really frustrating at times. I could really feel her irritation and her frustration with her parents because they really were trying to like control who she was as a person and what she did in school and with her friends. So the book definitely deals with how to manage expectations that people have of you and expectations that you have for yourself. There's a little bit of romance, but it's definitely, I wouldn't say it's like the main focus. I think the main focus of all of Elizabeth Acevedo books, at least the ones that I've read, is definitely the character discovering themselves. That brings me to her other book, With the Fire on High. This book follows a senior in high school who is a single mother, and it basically is just about her trying to make it for herself and her daughter. She's preparing to go to college. She's, doing her applications, trying to build her resume, and she really loves cooking. So something that I really love about this book is that it shows recipes and it describes foods with just the most vivid descriptions. So while you read it, you feel so immersed in the story, and I find myself starving and ravenous because everything sounds so good. See, these books aren't super plot heavy, but like that's why they're so heartwarming, because you really get to know the characters and their situations and you feel for them and you just get so invested in their story. And that's why Elizabeth Acevedo books are amazing and super fast to read. They're emotional and just so fulfilling. So I'm gonna move on now to the romance section because I have quite a few romance books to recommend. We're taking like a huge leap here. We're going from heartwarming, cute YA to dark dark romance where the couples want to kill each other. That's just how it is on my channel. Welcome. I hope you enjoy it here. So the first book I have in my romance section is Menace by J.M. Darhauer. This is actually a duology. I guess some people call it a mafia romance. It's a dark romance because basically it's about these two people. One of them is this guy named Lorenzo. He's done with life because he feels like life has wronged him ever since he was born, and he's just at the point where he's just done and he'll just resort to murder at any inconvenience. So he's a pretty tough, bad guy. He's really been through it. It is a romance. I'm getting there. There's this girl named Morgan. Well, she decides that she's gonna rob him, but she really picked the wrong guy. He vows to kill her. He wants to kill her because she obviously inconvenienced him by trying to rob him. And so now they're kind of like enemies at this point, but Morgan is in a really sticky situation with her own personal life and her family. And so she ends up needing Lorenzo's help, and they kind of have to work together. You know, it has my favorite thing where the tough guy who hates everyone is only soft for that one person he loves. It's not my favorite, but it is really entertaining, and I read both of them only in a day. No. I read each book. It took me one day to read each book. I didn't read both in one day. No. It one day for each. You know what I mean? Anyway, I really enjoyed these books. The only thing that I didn't really like about it was the writing, but like we moved past it, you know. I enjoyed the plot. I got so invested in the characters and their relationships. A lot of stuff that happens like is very brutal. And also trigger warning for sexual assault and substance abuse. In order for me to enjoy a book, I really need to love the characters and be invested in them. I finished this duology and I was like, I found myself missing the characters. Yeah, it's really cute. I mean, cute is not the word I would use to describe a mafia romance, but you know what I mean. Like if you're into that, you get it. I'm not someone who likes dark romance either. So the fact that I enjoyed these books, that says a lot. Like normally when I look at dark romance, I'm just here for the smut. But like this book, the smut wasn't even the best part of it. You know how I like the emotional connection between characters? I feel like they actually had a pretty solid connection and a foundation for their relationship, and there was so much development between the characters and just for the characters individually. The next book or books that I have, the Addicted series by Krista and Becca Ritchie. So there actually are kind of two series because it's the Addicted series and the Calloway Sisters series, because the Addicted series follows Lily Calloway and Lauren Hale and them trying to navigate life and deal with their addictions. Lauren has an alcohol addiction and Lily has a sex addiction, and they're best friends. They have been friends since they were children, and they decide that they're gonna fake date in order to help each other through their addictions and prove to their family that they can be good to each other despite both having addictions that are ruining their lives. And then the Calloway Sisters series is about the sisters and their own romantic lives and their love interests, and it's just super fun. These books aren't super plot heavy, they're super fluffy. Oh, by the way, these characters are super rich. So like low-key, I was reading them and I was just like living through them, you know, going on their yachts, their private jets, their vacations. Like it just is fun. Like it's a fun vibe. Does it have the best writing? No, but it's fun and you get so into the characters and their relationships. I was invested honestly from book one. Low-key, I was getting emotional at the end. I was like, I love them so much. They're fun, they're short, they're addictive. There's a reading order on the author's website that I will put in the description below. So the next book I have is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. Y'all know I have a rocky relationship with Penelope Douglas because I be enjoying some of her books and then some of her books no. This one was a 5-star though. I read this in one sitting. I wouldn't say it's dark. I would say it's taboo. Well, it depends on what you think is dark. It's up to your own opinion. I was gonna say, as someone who's kind of sensitive, meanwhile, I read Pretty Girls and was not fazed by any of the dark shit that happened. I also have a thing for murderous women. As someone who's sensitive, yeah, shut up, Hayley. I think this is a really, really good introduction if you are going to start reading the more taboo or the dark stuff. What's Birthday Girl about? You might be wondering, Hayley, sounds innocent enough, right? Well, you would be wrong. Birthday Girl is about this girl who decides to date her ex-boyfriend's dad. It's fun, it's smutty, it's a quick read. When I tell you Penelope Douglas writes some of the best smut I've ever read, I'm not being dramatic. I read this book and I was shook. I don't think any smut compares except for Tessa Bailey. Tessa Bailey can write some good smut and I'm about to get into her in a second. I loved Birthday Girl. Best Penelope Douglas book I've read so far. I'm about to read Credence. Will that go well for me? We can only hope. I doubt it will, but like I said, we can only hope. The next romance book I have is You Deserve Each Other by Helen. Oh my God, her name is not Helen. Her name is Sarah. The next book I have is You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogel. This is an adult second chance romance. Second chance romance is fun though, because you know why? I love the emotional connection between couples. Like, obviously I love the smut and I love the lust, but the emotional connection is what gets me invested. And Second Chance is all about that emotional connection. Like, the whole point of this book, this couple, Naomi, literally don't even know the guy's name. I literally don't know his name. I'm sorry to that man. I don't remember his name, but Naomi and her fiance, they are struggling. They don't even think they're going to make it to the wedding because they don't think they want to be with each other anymore. So the whole point of this book is literally them trying to get each other to call off the wedding and break off the engagement. So they're each like doing little things to like get under each other's skin and basically trying to force the other to break up because they don't want to be the one that like throws in the towel and calls it quits. It's very entertaining. It's funny. It's a quick read, super bingeable, if I do say so myself. It is technically like enemies to lovers, I will say, because they like hated each other in the beginning. They're like, we should not get married. Like, this is a horrible idea. Yeah, so second chance romance, enemies to lovers. If you're into that, if any of those things speak to you, then this book is for you. I don't even like enemies to lovers, and I gave this book 4 stars. So that should tell you how good it was. The next books I have are some of my favorite romance books ever. Helen Huang's books, The Kiss Quotient and The Bride Test. They're so funny, they're so entertaining, and the romance is adorable. They're full of some of my favorite romance tropes ever. Some being where the girl gets hurt and the guy freaks out and needs to take care of her. The thing that I love especially about Helen Huang's books, why am I saying her name like that? I'm so sorry, Helen. I'm just gonna refer to her on the first name basis because we're besties. Okay, Helen. Anyway, so the thing that I love about Helen's books, her stories are so quirky. The Kiss Quotient follows Stella, who wants to be in a relationship. She needs practice and she needs help like figuring out how to be in a relationship because she's always struggled with that part of her life. She doesn't have a lot of experience with dating and sex, so she hires a male escort, Michael, to help her gain experience. And that's what I'm saying about quirky. I mean, I don't know, does this happen? Do people hire escorts to help them date? I don't know. Okay, this one's even quirkier though. Like, let me tell you. In The Bride Test, Esme is essentially paid to fly out to America and seduce this mother's son, Kai. So the mom is like desperate. She's like, oh my God, Kai needs a significant other. So she finds this girl, Esme, abroad, and she's like, I'll pay you hella money to come seduce my son. If you get married, like 10 out of 10, amazing. You get paid. I really enjoyed these books and I feel like the smut is good. The banter is amazing. They have real conversations. These were both 5 stars for me. They're some of my favorite romance books. The next book or books that I have is the Hot and Hammered series by Tessa Bailey. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's hot and hammered. Okay, so there are 3 books, and I recently read the last book in this trilogy, and I only just then realized why it was called Hot and Hammered. It's because each couple doing a fixer-upper project or like a construction project, and it's just full of smut. It's like smut with a plot. Barely. Okay, so the first book is called Fixer Up and it has fake dating. This girl decides to fake date this guy because he needs like a better public image in order to get this job that he wants, and I guess she just wants experience and she also needs help fixing up her house. Anyway, the second book is called Love Her or Lose Her. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't love this book, and I think it has to do with the author being white and writing characters of color. It came across not great, but the smut was good. It's kind of like second chance romance where it's this married couple and the wife is thinking about leaving him or getting a divorce because she feels like there's just not really any love, there's no relationship, but then they decide to go to marriage counseling and work things out. Tools of Engagement, which is the 3rd book in the trilogy, was my favorite one. I feel like it's more rivals to lovers because it's like one-sided, and this one has the trope of the guy being obsessed with the girl and the guy falling first for the girl. Bethany can't stand Wes because he is just the type of guy that she's never been drawn to. He irritates the shit out of her, but they end up having to work on fixing up this house together. The banter between them, the dynamic, it's just so good. Like, obviously, like, they butt heads, but he's just like teasing her because he likes her so much and she's just like so over his shit, but it's so cute. I really related to Bethany, and I think that's why I also love this book the most out of all of them, because like the other characters in the other books, they felt more one-dimensional to me, but Bethany and Wes felt so real. Their struggles of like Wes wanting to be there for his niece and like be a good guardian for her, and Bethany struggling with being a perfectionist and just fearing failure. I really related to that. So I just really love their dynamic, and I love seeing them grow, and I loved watching their relationship develop. It might be one of my favorite romance books. And finally, we move on to the final section of this video, which is extras. These are mostly thrillers, horror / contemporary books without romance. Okay, so the first book I have is Such a Fun Age by Hayley Reid. I'm pretty sure I also read this in a day, and it just is so like bizarre, like especially as a Black person reading it, because it kind of gives me Get Out vibes. Like it's kind of creepy. It's about this young Black woman who is babysitting this little white girl, and she brings her to this really rich area, to a supermarket. She ends up getting security called on her because people are suspicious. They're like, oh my God, there's a Black woman with a white child in a rich area. She doesn't belong here, blah, 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 blah. So, you know, it deals with racial profiling. It kind of deals with her life and how it like spirals out of control from there. The relationship with the mother of the child becomes really kind of strained and awkward. The romance in this book is like so uncomfortable. Like just as like a Black girl myself, and knowing how there are people out there that do performative activism, and then like white people that are obsessed with trying to be palatable for Black people, but then they end up doing too much, and then it just comes across as even more racist. But it was very creepy. Like as a Black girl reading it, I really felt for this character. I was like, ooh, she's going through it, and I'd be super uncomfortable if I was in her situation. But it was a really addictive read. You'd be turning them pages quickly. I don't think it's technically a thriller, but like if you're a Black person, it might feel like a thriller for you because it's a little freaky. The overwhelming whiteness and the microaggressions and the flat out racism, scary. So the next book I have is a thriller, and that is No Exit by Taylor Adams. This honestly I think is like my favorite thriller. It's just so fast paced and so intense. I could not put it down. Like the second I picked it up, I was invested. I was like, I need to know what's gonna happen. It's about this girl who gets trapped at a rest stop. The roads are not safe to drive on. So she's in this rest stop with a couple other people. Things start getting really sketchy when she realizes someone in the rest stop has kidnapped a small child. And so she's kind of caught. She's like, do I stay and help the child or do I go? But she's like in a race against time because obviously things start getting really suspicious and dangerous, and she has to figure out how to outsmart these people that are at the rest stop with her and trying to get her. It's like the perfect introduction to thrillers. It's so action-packed, and it's a lot of fun. I know it's weird to say that something like this that is bloody, intense, and violent, how could that be fun? You know, it's fun for some people. We're not here to shame people's interests. The next book I have is Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. I didn't love this book, but I really love the idea, and like I did have fun while I was reading it. Again, I know it's weird to say that because it's a murder mystery and it's very dark, and I mean dark. Like this book I think has every trigger warning under the sun. Seriously, check them out if you're going to read this book, because I do not want you to be harmed in the reading experience. But this book is very intense. It's about these sisters who are estranged ever since their other sister went missing. Their family has kind of fallen apart. When another young woman goes missing, they decide to come together to kind of figure out what happened to their sister, because they think that their cases might be linked. There are a lot of sneaky plot twists, a lot of very, very disturbing parts and details in this book, so be careful. I mean, here's the thing. It's very long. You might be like, Hayley, how is this bingeable? But I feel like because it's long and because it is basically never-ending reveals along with action, lots of crazy stuff going on in this book. So if you are into being disturbed, this book is for you. The second to last book I have is Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. This is one of my favorite books. I love this book. It's about murderous mermaids. And it has lots of representation. There are characters who are deaf and they use sign language. There's a character who is autistic. There is a bisexual character. There is a character that is lesbian. You got everyone on this ship. Like literally they're on a boat. Because it's these people, scientists and like a media crew, who decide to go out into the middle of the ocean and go into the Mariana Trench to see if these murderous mermaids actually exist. And it gets very violent and bloody. And you know, that's something I enjoy. But also the fact that one of the main characters is sapphic, specifically bisexual, because I am bi, like I just really felt that in my soul. It is like pretty heavy on the science stuff, but personally I found it to be really fascinating. I know I'm a nerd, but I do think that it's presented in a digestible way. Like even if you're not into science, because it's pretty relevant to the story. Crazy to call something so bloody, violent, and gory fun, but what can I say? I am disturbed. And the last book I have is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. This book is a horror book. Also check the trigger warnings for this one because things get very intense. You get like a bunch of different storylines of disturbing, creepy things happening to different people. I think it's 4 people who start being like haunted slash followed by this vengeful spirit because they messed up. They committed a wrongdoing in a very sacred area to very sacred beings. And so now they're being followed slash haunted by this vengeful spirit that just wants to get revenge on them. This book really plays mind games on you and it starts getting kind of confusing, like trying to figure out what's real and what's not real. It kept me hooked from start to finish. I read it in one sitting. It's just so fascinating and I love how unique this story is because I feel like I don't read that much horror, but I do watch a lot of horror movies, and I feel like paranormal horror, I feel like a lot of times the stories are the same about ghosts or spirits that want to get revenge, but this one deals with like real culture of indigenous people, so I thought it was like a really cool creative touch. That was like the #1 thing that I love about this book, how much psychological thrill there was. It was sick in a bad way because of the things that happened, but it was sick in a good way because it was cool. Those are all the books that I have. I hope you found something that you might enjoy. If you have read these books before, let me know what you think about them. If you haven't read the books, if you're looking forward to any of these books, let me know which ones sound the most interesting to you. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time with another video. Bye.